What's up, guys? Welcome to another Math and Man video. Sorry I have not made a video in I think over a year, but I'm gonna get back to it. Just been busy with the kids, you know. Anyways, if it is linear inequalities, SAT type questions that you need help with, and just look at the questions above and below, then this video is for you. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, and I promise I'll help you with your future math. When you're taking the SAT, the main strategy to help you is to narrow down your choices, and here's what's going to help you do that. First thing you are going to want to look at are the inequalities, whether it's on the question or the answer choices. If an inequality does not have the equal sign under it, like these, it's just greater than or less than, then you know that that graph is going to be a dotted line. If it does have the line under it, like these, then it's going to be a solid line. Number 2 and 3, whether it's the question or the answer choices, you want to look at the format that the inequality is given. So it's either going to be given most of the time in y equals mx plus b format, where it gives you a y-intercept and a slope, or it's going to give you it in standard form, ax plus by equals c, where you're going to need to make a 0-0 table like that. If it's not in those formats, then you try to put it into that format by some variable manipulation, but those are really what's going to help you narrow down your choices. Let's apply that to the first question. In this first question, I look at the graph and automatically I see a dotted line, right? This is confusing because they all look the same. They all have x's, y's, and -1. But if you look closely, like we said, this is a dotted line. You automatically know that it cannot be C or D. Why? Because look at the inequality. It's got that equal sign under it. So this is saying that these are solid lines, but this is a dotted. Then our last resort to pick out of A and B is to create a test point that is on the shaded region. Pick any point that's on that shaded region. And the easiest points to pick are ones that include zeros. Don't pick these points that are given to you. Try to pick one that's not on the line. So just create one right here, and we will call that 0, -2. 0 for x, -2 for y. That's my test point. You can test it on A or B, it doesn't matter. I just go with the first one and see if it's gonna make sense. So you're going to substitute 0 for x and -2 for y. So we pop those in. We get 0 plus -2 is less than -1. And you get -2 is less than -1. And then you kind of assess, is that true or false? -2 is less than -1. That is a true statement. So since that is true, you know B is going to be false if you plug that in. You don't even have to test it, but if you have trust issues, actually there's no time for trust issues on the SAT. Once you have an answer, then that is what you go with. The answer is A. Alright, looking at the second problem. If you look at your answer choices, and I categorize these or organize these into two things. A and B look very similar, and C and D look very similar. Unfortunately, we can't apply what we did in example 1 because this is a solid line and all these inequalities right here have that equal sign under it. So we can't use that strategy. But if you look at A, B, C, and D, they're all in standard form. And the graph also provides you points. So since this is in standard form and I want to test if A is my answer, I'm going to create a 0-0 table to see if it's going to match the graph. And you only really need to test one point. So this is saying replace x with 0 in this equation right here and try to get a y value. So we can see what that graph is going to look like. 2y minus 3 times 0 is greater than or equal to 6. you get 2y. I mean, you could just use equals. We're just trying to get this y value right here. Equals 6 divided by 2, and you get y equals 3. So look, this graph right here on its line itself, when you're drawing it, is supposed to have the point 0,3, but if you look at these points, 0,3 is not included. So what does that tell you? It tells you that A and B cannot be it, because those look the same, and it's supposed to have the point 0,3 when you draw the line, and the graph doesn't. It says 0,2. So you narrow down your choices to C and D, and guess what you do next, because you can't do anything else? This side is shaded, so you're going to pick a test point. On the shaded side, the easiest test point is 0, 0. Plug it in and see if it makes a true statement in one of the equations. Let's just do it for C. Plug in 0, 0. 3 times 0 minus 2 times 0 greater than or equal to 6. That gives you 0 is more than or equal to 6. And if you look at that statement, it is wrong. That is not right. This is false. So since C is producing a false answer, you know that that's wrong. You don't even need to test D. That is going to be your answer. All right, very similar to the other question, and we're going to go a little faster this time. It's a dotted line. Unfortunately, again, these don't have the equal sign under it, so I can't narrow down my choices with that. If you look at the equations, these are the same, and for the most part on the SAT, they always organize it in the same way, from what I've seen at least. A and B are similar, and C and D are similar. So I want to sketch what this graph is going to look like, A, and that will tell me if it matches the graph above. And how do you do that? If it's in standard form, the easiest way to graph is 0, 0. And like I mentioned before, you only really need to test one point, and that's going to tell me if it matches the graph above. This tells me that I need to replace in A, x with 0. So that's going to be 4y minus 3 times 0. And you put equals. We're just seeing what the graph looks like. Equals 12. Solve for y. You get 4y equals 12 divided by 4. And y equals 3. And you want to see, is that point on the graph, 0, 3? And if you look, it is on that graph. So what does that tell you? That matches, right? You know that C and D cannot be your answers. And now I just got to determine whether it's A and B. The last resort to pick out of those two is pick a test point that is on the shaded region. So you can pick one anywhere here. You can make any points you want, but the easiest way are the ones on the X and Y axis if 0, 0 is not on there. So I'm going to just pick this one. Let's pretend that's my test point. Let's call that 0, 4. You can pick any number that's on the shaded region. 0 for X, Y for 4, and I'm going to plug that in into letter A. 4 times 4 minus 3 times 0 better be greater than 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 0 is 0. Greater than 12. And that should take you 1 second to tell if that's true or false. That is a true statement. So you know that A is got to be the answer. Let's go with this one. Unfortunately, they're all solid, so that stinks. But if they're all in y-intercept form, slope-intercept form, and you can eliminate two answers right away. What I look for is the y-intercept, which is -4. And that will eliminate or narrow down your choices into 2. Because this is +4, and +4, you know that it cannot be A or D. Those are bogus answers. They have +4 for the y-intercept. After that, I mean, it's all about determining whether one of the choices, B or C, matches that shaded region. And you just pick a test point that's on the shaded region. Fortunately, 0, 0 is on there. That's the easiest point to plug in, because if you put 0 into anything, 0 times a number is 0. Easy to plug in. We'll test it for B. 0 is less than or equal to 3 times 0 minus 4. And you want to see if that's true or false. 0 is less than 3 times 0 is 0. Negative 4 is left over. You just check to see if that's true or false. 0 is less than negative 4. That should take you 1 second to say that that is false. And since B produced a false statement, then you know it's wrong. Your answer is C. I hope you have a better understanding of linear inequalities. And if it did, throw me a like and a subscribe. And just let me know if you need future math help. Anyways, I will see you on the next episode.